God is enough. He's the only being that is enough. God does not need anything external. See, as a human, you're not enough. When you're born, you're weak, you're fragile. Towards the end of your life, same. All through, there's always something that someone can do to improve your life, but God is enough. So why did He create us? Why did God create Adam and Eve? And all the animals? Those are the questions I was asking myself. So that's why I didn't eventually become a Catholic priest, because I felt that I could not serve. I felt I was in the wrong belief system. And that's when now I started looking into Islam. I remember getting up in the morning, and a lot happens in the music industry that I do not approve of. And I had turned a blind eye to so many things. And I had done marches in town with activists about essentially music producers sexually assaulting people, using that power that they have, all that money, all that fame. And this morning I woke up and I told myself, I'm tired of this. And there was an artist I was supposed to go and produce a record for. So I woke up, I dressed up, I went and looked for him, and I told him, hi, I think I'm going to give you the rights to this music, all of it. You can own everything. I do not really want to be a part of this anymore. In case there's anything you'd like me to do on it, let's do it right now. Let me finish it. I'll leave you with the files. He asked me, what's happening? It was around 5 in the morning. He told me, what's going on? It was still dark outside. I told him, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a musician anymore, because there's so much dirt. So much dirt. And at least if you're being paid well and you're in a dirty industry, you can try and cleanse it from within. But the entertainment industry, the music industry, it's very linked to so many evils in the society. Even when you look at the videos themselves, you see it. Yeah. So I was fed up. So I told him, and then he asked me, so what are you doing now? I told him, once I'm done with this, I'm going to Jamia Mosque to present myself to become a full-fledged Muslim. And he thought I was losing my mind. He tried sitting me down. He told me, you don't need to make rash decisions. It's a difficult business that we are in. You need to, calm down. Because he was asking me, so how are you going to make money? I told him, can you see how I'm dressed? I'm going to look for work in offices. I don't mind which work I'll get. But there's a very high chance it's even going to be more paying than what artists get. You could sell tea, I could sell tea, I could work in construction, I could do all these things. So eventually, do you know what happened? He came with me to Jamia Mosque because he could not believe what was happening. And we came and we found there's that shoe shine spot. There was a man there. I told him, hi, how are you? Nimekuja kusilimu. Kaniambia kuja nikuoneshe. He held my hand. I wondered, where is this man taking me? So of course in the morning all the gates are closed apart from. So he took me around. He brought me to the library. That's when I met Sheikh Hussein, and I told him I would like to become a Muslim. And I had earrings, and the thing that struck me first was just the serenity around the mosque, the peace. The fact that once you enter the mosque, you don't realize you've just come from nation center, it's different. It's a whole different place. It's a calm place. So that's in short the journey of the day I decided to come. So I sat, and then I don't know what was happening, a lot of bureaucracy at the office. So I thought I'll come, I'll say I want to be a Muslim, they'll make me a Muslim, I'll start. It took around 2 hours for me to say my shahadas, and then they gave me text and everything. There was something, I don't know what was happening, it was Ramadan. So there was some bureaucracy things happening. They were doing some things in the office. So all that time I was there, I was just becoming more and more nervous, more and more nervous. And then I started wondering, do I not look like someone who should be a Muslim? yeah, I was wondering, why are these people not attending to me? So many questions. And then, yeah, Sheikh Hussein took me through it. He told me what to say. He asked me if I'd been fasting. Of course, I'd been fasting. As I've said, I think I've been a Muslim all my life because I found myself fasting during Ramadan. And, you know, so those are probably some of the issues he might have had with a new revotee was, you know, you have to stop eating now. It's very hard to not eat. I don't think people understand how hard it is to be hungry and to pray 5 times a day. My friend, once I got to the mosque, he said, you know what, you just do your thing, and then after it, call me and tell me how it goes. So after the Sheikh was taking me through from the library to his office, there was a man standing outside the office, and he'd come to see the Sheikh. And so once I got my Quran, and there's that green book they give at Jamia Mosque. So I got the book, and once I got out, his name is Ahmed. He says hi to me, how are you? And then he tells me, oh, umesilimu leo. And then, so do you know what I thought? I thought Sheikh Hussein has sent this man to just help me out. So we went to the library, we sat, he asked me about my journey, I gave him a brief, and then he told me, okay, sawa, saizi ni wakati wa dhuhur, tuende nikusaidie kutawadha na kuomba. So I was wondering, who is this? Why is he doing all these things? Doesn't he have something better to do? So we went, he showed me how to, he thoroughly showed me how to perform ablution. And then he thoroughly showed me how to pray. And then he told me, okay, so now we are going to go for the afternoon prayer. This is what is required of you. And then he told me now there are some, you know, so every time there's a change in motion, I'll tap you. And that was my first Salah. I think I remember wondering, where are all these people coming from? You know, it's Ramadan, the mosque is always packed. All these people are Muslims. And I felt at home. I'd never seen so many people within a congregation center. And now once I got from the mosque, I had to go into work, and I decided to just walk. And I walked and walked and walked. And by the time I was getting to work, it's Ramadan, I've not eaten anything, I was so hungry. And that's when now the requirements of Islam started taking their hold on me. That now, you are not your master. There's something greater than you. However hungry and thirsty you feel, you have to wait for the sun to go down. And then it started dawning on me. And I started wondering, where have I brought myself? What am I doing? Why am I here? And then, so I was unable to work that day. And then I just started walking again towards town. Started walking. I was actually wearing these very shoes, I remember. I started walking back. It started raining. It rained on me. Then the sun came out. And I was wondering, what is going on? And by this time, since I've not worked for that day, I don't have any money in my pocket. So I started wondering, is this what Muslims go through? You're broke, you're hungry, you're being rained on, there's sun. And I was wondering, okay, so where do I get just transport to go home? And once I get home, the last meal I ate was around 6 p.m. the previous day. This is 3 p.m. So I'm telling myself, will I survive for 3 hours? Though fasting is not such a foreign thing, but you have to remember that the previous time when I was fasting, if I felt like eating, it was very easy to break the fast, yeah? Because I wasn't fasting under the laws of Islam. It was more voluntary fasting. Now, for the first time in my life, I couldn't eat. So, and then this is a funny story, because eventually I started wondering, because when you're broke, you start wondering, who owes me money? Start thinking, thought. And then eventually I remembered my friend. His name is Joseph. I remembered Joseph around 3 years ago had called me. He told me, bro, send me 300, I'm in a tight spot. And I decided, you know what, I'm also going to call Joseph. And I called him and he sent me the money, and that's now the part when later on I came to realize You know, when you're in prayer, you say, Rabbi Gfirli, Warhamni, Wahdini, Waafini, Waruzukuni, that part. It doesn't matter. You don't, like, as long as you're on this earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you. And here I was, I didn't even know how to properly pray, but I simply asked for help, and it was provided. And now that solidified, it solidified my journey. And that's the beginning of the story. This is going to sound as a surprise to you, but my journey has been very simple, very easy within the religion. Yeah, the hard part of the journey has come from all the things I've had to now take myself away from because of my belief and my willingness to follow rules. And I remember when I was reverting, I was told this is not an easy religion as you might think. Once you come here, there are so many laws which you'll be told don't do something and you're not supposed to even ask. Because some things, of course, there are reasons why you're told not to do them. But there are some things which are just, don't do this. You know, once you're in sajda, once sujudu, that's the most vulnerable point you are as a human being. You realize you can't lift yourself from that position without pushing yourself with your hands. Because that's how vulnerable you are. If someone was to come and attack you from behind, you would definitely lose your life. But that's what Islam is. It's humbling yourself, putting your face on the ground. You know, you'd think people should pray while looking up. Yet here you're being told you put your face on that ground. And it's not just your face, it's your hands, it's your knees, it's your toes. 7 points, yeah? That's the most powerful position for you to be in. And even the sheikhs in Arabia, they are there 5 times a day. That's where the strength comes from. And that's why I'm telling you, within Islam itself, within learning about the religion, there's nothing I disagree with. There are things which I always used to wonder, why am I doing things this way? I never liked eating pork. They would eat it and I would tell them, fine. I do not take alcohol. One of the reasons why I really struggled in the music industry was for all the shows I used to do, I used to say no alcohol at my shows. And they would wonder, why? You're a musician. Why don't you want to partner with an alcohol brand? And I had no answer to that question. I just used to come up with excuses. Oh, my father used to drink when I was young and he used to be unpleasant. That's not the reason why I don't take alcohol. It's just something that was in me, you know. So now I have answers to questions that I had no answers to before. I don't take alcohol because it's haram. Why do you let the children on the street hold you and touch you and hug you, and why do you sit with them? Why? There's a friend who never used to understand why like every time we are walking in town, I stop and I listen to them. And it's very humbling that they consider me a friend. Why? Because I feel that that's what is required of you as a human being, not even just as a Muslim. As a human being, it's required of you to take care of the people who are helpless in the society. So you see, now coming here and being told, you know, zakah, being told to give to charity, yeah, those are not things which I find hard. Now the challenges have come from now the reaction of I'm telling someone I'm not doing something because it's haram, and they say, it's life. You're not going to get anywhere. Everyone is out. It's a man-eat-man society. You know, the fact that your fans are taking alcohol at your show does not come in the way of the money that you make from the show. And then it's got to a point where I've said, I'm quitting music. What will you do? That's where the difficulty has come in. Where I'm telling someone I'm quitting music. Of course, when I told them I'm quitting music, I didn't want to say it's because of Islam. So just 3 days after reverting, yeah, I met with my mother in town, and we were to just have a light conversation, and then she was to go her way and I was to go my way. So we've met, we've had the conversation. I told her I'm thinking of going back to school, you know, all these things. And then eventually, so when we were parting ways, she tells me, why don't we just get into this cafe and have some lunch? And I told her, no, I don't really want, I can't have lunch today. So she asked me why. I told her because I'm fasting. And she asked me, why are you fasting? I told her because it's Ramadan. And I recently became a Muslim. And next time I heard from her was around 4 weeks later. She left me on the street. She walked. First of all, she sat down, she cried. Then she stood. She never said a word to me. She walked, and all I could do was just walk behind her until she got to the car. Just made sure that she was safe. And then once the car left, I came to the mosque actually. And I met Ahmed again. And I told Ahmed, what was your reaction when you told your kin that you've reverted? He told me it's one of the worst experiences he's ever had. And eventually he even had to leave and go to Mombasa to study, far away from the family. And he's the one who, the story I was telling you here about someone who would send money to the parents who had reverted and the parents would send the money back. He told me yours is better that nothing has been said to you that breaks your heart, that she had the decency to just walk away. So that was a difficult one. That was a very difficult one. And then later on, I met with my grandfather and the brother to now the grandfather that I'm named for. Yeah. And he was offering me lunch, and I told him, no, I'm not taking lunch. And he asked me why. I told him because I'm fasting. And he asked me, why are you fasting? I told him because it's good for your health. Because by this time I'm afraid of saying I'll become a Muslim. Yeah. He is he's a very dedicated Christian. One of the only true Christians I know. And if every Christian was like him, I probably would still be a Christian. So I told him I'm fasting. He asked why. Because I told him because it's Ramadan. And he told me, when did you become a Muslim? How am I only learning about this right now? And eventually he called another grandfather of mine for them to sit me down and ask me, why have you made this decision? Are you sure you're making the right decision? And eventually the conversation became quite difficult because it got to a point where I told them, okay, now I am a Muslim. Yeah, I am a Muslim. That's a given. I'm not changing it. So what do you want from me? These questions that you're asking me have got to a point where now they're becoming, it's like you're attacking me. So what's the way forward? And these two men are very humble. And eventually they told me, you just take care of yourself. And I don't think they've accepted it yet. And they started telling me about someone who was in Islam who reverted, and they told me, who came back now to Christianity. And they told me, I think we'll give you a link to that person so that you know why they came from Islam back to Christianity. And I told them, yes, I would like to meet them. But in my mind, I want to meet them so that I bring them back to Islam. I didn't tell them that though. And as recently as Monday this week, someone called me to do an interview for work, because now I don't really have a consistent source of income. I've kind of left the music business. And I went to the interview just before, because now all this time, they told me you have to be here by 7. The interview is around 30 kilometers away. So I've woken up at 4. It's not yet time for Fajr. I can't do my Fajr prayer. So I cleaned myself up. By the time I was cleaning myself up, it was 5, still not yet time. So I had to leave the house. By the time I'm getting to town, when I do the calculations, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that morning prayer and get to that interview by 7. Yeah. So I just decided, you know what? I just have to not go to the mosque this morning. But all through I was very troubled. So when I got there with 15 minutes to spare, which essentially that's how long it takes me to do the morning prayer. Now the time had passed for the prayer, but I decided, now since they gave me a place to sit, in an open place, like it's a place where you sit outside, there's an umbrella and all that. So, and then they left me. The person I met left me there. So I was like, I need to do my salah. So I put my mat down, I prayed. And then all of a sudden, I started feeling my phone vibrating and vibrating. So it turns out, when I was praying, the person who received me started calling the person who had invited me to an interview, asking, why is this person praying here? You know, it was quite a cross conversation. So by the time the person who had invited me to the interview came, he had a very frightened look in his face. And he asked me, what's going on? I'm getting so many calls. What's happening? Why? What did you do? Told him, no, I just came. I met the guards. I asked the guards, I'm coming here to do an interview. Where can I wait for you to come? So I met a man. He told me, you can sit there. And I just placed my mat on the floor and I prayed. He told me, oh, you know, that's the director's office. I told him, it's fine, I'll leave. Since it seems I've caused so much trouble, it's fine, I'll leave. Thank you for inviting me. And, you know, may the good grace of God find you wherever you are. And I started the walk back. And these are the challenges. Okay, I've always conducted my life as if I was a Muslim. I think I've mentioned that. So I've never really been in any relationship with anyone, because you remember I wanted to be a Catholic priest. And then I've never really partaked in drug abuse, drug misuse. And that's part of the reason why my time as a music producer and someone in the music world was very difficult. Because you go to a studio, you're very friendly with people, and then all of them take out whatever drug it is they're taking for the day. And now eventually everyone has left this dimension and you're left there by yourself. Yeah. So now the only thing that I can say has changed has been very personal, my relationship with God. So it got to a point where I was identifying as an atheist. Because I used to say, if these are the people of God, if this is the God that has been taught to us for 2,000 years and for many more years before that, if these are the people who are the leaders of, you know, as long as, even I'm sure there are Muslims right now who wonder, that sheikh, what he's doing, is this really? Of course, you'll always have those doubts, yeah? The difference has come in now when I'm doing my daily prayers. As we said, it's 5 times minimum, yeah? It's 5 obligatory, and there's sunnah, of course, yeah? Anytime I'm doing those prayers, all these things leave my head. And for that, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, because there are various types of prayers that you do in Islam. For that time, I feel connected to something greater, and I start realizing that we are only here for a very short time. So I feel we are in a testing ground. And once you're done here, you choose 2 paths. You choose Jannah or, you know, Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater. And then it's left like that, open-ended. Not Allah is greater than anything, just Allah is greater. Because that's the literal. In Kiswahili ni Allah ni mkubwa mno. What is Allah being compared to? Have you thought about those words? When you start your prayer, you say Allahu Akbar. What does that mean? Why is it the first thing you say in prayer? And why do you say it every time you're moving from one cycle to the next? That's my answer, actually. To everyone who has reverted and they're facing all these challenges, they should realize that the closer you get to God, the more your challenges become. Look at Jesus' life, Prophet Isa. Peace be upon him. Look at his life. He was born in troubles, and then you realize at some point the troubles kind of subsided. Then towards the end, before he disappeared, for those who believe he disappeared, or before he died, for those who believe he died. Look at the very 12 people he chose. One of them defeated him 3 times, and he had been given the vision to see this. And the other one sold him for 30 pieces of silver. Yeah? So the closer you get to God, the more the challenges become. And you should not, at any point in time, start doubting whether there is a God, because anything that happens in this world happens by the will of Allah. The dirtiest, darkest thing you can think of. The darkest. What's the mental image when I say the darkest? Don't say it, just think about it. It's because Allah has allowed it to happen. And you choose, you're given. When you say Surah Al-Fatiha, how do you say? Surah Al-Ladina An'amta Alayhim. Guide us in the straight path. What is that straight path? That's the path when now you're here, you're looking, okay, I can make 100,000 a night if I get myself sponsored by this alcohol brand, or I can sleep hungry, and you know, and then now you wonder, how do I make this decision? Yeah, Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than this 100,000 that you're looking for. Yeah? Yeah, that's my answer. Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than anything you might think of.